Hello and welcome to Legislative Report. I'm State Representative Judy Ward of the 80th District in Blair County. On today's program, I'd like to highlight a local family business that's now in its third generation. Delgrosso Foods in Tipton is a great example of how perseverance and hard work can grow a company. Recently, I invited the Speaker of the House, Representative Mike Turzai, to join me on a tour of Delgrosso's. We heard about the challenges and rewards of running a small business in Pennsylvania. Join us now as we learn more about Delgrosso Foods.
And this is really the way parks have gone to.
Yeah.
I mean, water with dry side. Because of this way the weather, it gets so hot, to bring that whole family experience together, they like to have both. So, because when it's really, really hot, you really just don't want to be over on macadam or concrete riding rides because it's just too hot. So this allows them to come over here when the hottest part of the day, come back when it cools down, vice versa, you know what I mean? So
when I was explaining, we put in the new Rockstar ride this year. So when you were doing presentations and asking folks, well, how many want to go 55 feet in the air on a swinging pendulum? You know, a few people were like, eh. But when I said, who would like to float on a lazy river, all the hands went up.
Yeah.
So it's something that all age, grandma, grandpa, all the way down to, 2 and 3 years old, they're going to just enjoy that.
I mean, this is like a resort.
yeah,
Exactly. It's a resort
it's really, it
Yeah.
is really like a resort in a sense. All the buildings are really, really going to be nice. We had to have the infrastructure here because you can't bring in several more thousand people a year and not have the proper infrastructure. I mean, changing rooms, bathrooms, etc., ticketing systems, and so forth. And then the food buildings to serve it. Because, you get, almost 2,000 people visit in here in a day, and we have one concession stand, at this point. So now you're going to double that, but now we have 5 different restaurants, concessions in this Laguna Splash area. And then with the wave pool being in the wave pool sits the farthest away over in the far corner. It has a capacity of 500. This has a capacity, the lazy rivers are almost 1,200 linear feet, has a capacity of 500. So really, it's really nice.
Wave pool?
I have.
Okay,
Yeah. I love them.
I
It's
only
been a
saw
long
my first
time.
one
Yeah.
about 3 years ago, and I was skeptical, but it was actually pretty cool.
This is a lazy, crazy river as well, where half of the river is 16 foot wide. Half of it you get soaked, the other half you never get your hair wet. Unless somebody
People thought
serves
when
it.
we said lazy crazy, they thought one side for my family, just they'll yell at you, and
But
I was mistaken.
Our earmark of this thing is going to be down there. You can see a big circle down there in the middle of that concrete down there. A tube. You see that great big tube down there? And it's about 6. That's going to be the Leaning Tower of Pisa. That's our signature thing on this river that will be squirting water into this zero entry kids area over here, as well as on the back when you come around the back of it. And it's right here. So you're looking at that children's
so
area.
That way.
Yeah. So.
And you can almost see my house from right there. You can see Carl's.
Yeah, the top of the house. Yeah, down here. Top full coast. That's why I drive the golf cart down.
Who can say that?
Which makes it nice.
So the architecture is going to be like the paint and the roofs and the columns. Everything's going to look kind of a little bit Venetian. Definitely Italian.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it'll be definitely unique among water parks.
Yeah. In 1979, we moved out of the amusement park and came across the highway. We built the original building here. In '94, what the building we're in currently was added. And as we go down through the warehouse, in 2001, we added our third addition over here. When we moved over here in 1979 from the little factory, it was in the park, which was only about 2,000 square feet. We were producing about 200,000 cases a year. This year in 2015, we'll produce about 5.5 million cases. So, and that's again a variety of different customers, from everything from salsa products, spaghetti sauce, pizza sauce, sloppy joe. It pretty much goes literally across the country. A lot of product goes to Canada, ship into Europe, even ship over to Dubai. You'll see Delgrosso product in stores in Dubai as well. So quite a long range of product going a lot of different places. What you see here mainly behind us is caps. These come from Connellsville, Pennsylvania, so right in our backyard. The caps come in boxes of usually anywhere from 700 to 1,300 depending on the size of the cap. Our traditional Delgrosso uses what we call a 63 millimeter. Certain caps are 82 millimeter, a larger cap for like a salsa jar. Jars that we bring in are, as we go through the warehouse on our left, you're going to see the variety of different jars. We run about 12 different varieties of jars. And why do we do that? We have a small size, for example, we make mustard for Herlocker Foods, so it's a little dipping mustard. We then go up to a 14 ounce for pizza sauce. A small jar, not as much as spaghetti sauce. Then we start jumping up to the 16 ounce salsa. Then we jump to a 24 ounce. Then we go up to a 26 ounce. And then we go up clear up to a 45 ounce, which actually is a plastic container rather than a glass jar. And that's what we call a PET jar, PET, which is basically the polyethylene type product that's in there, that's made up of the jar. This, for example, is a product we ship to Puerto Rico. There's a groceries chain in Puerto Rico called Econo. So you can see we have an Econo label. The product is basically stacked, shrink wrapped. This will go on a container and will be sent to Puerto Rico. Usually takes about a week to 10 days to get to its destination. Here's the plastic jar. You can see the 45 ounce. That's again the only size that we run in plastic. Here we have a salsa jar, 24 ounce. You can see the larger diameter lid that's on that jar as well. Again, 24 ounce. Again, you have some PET jars here. So this again is just a variety of the jars. Typically on a day, we will run mostly one size jar. Typically, again, on a one-day basis, when we start producing at 6 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon, which we're still running here, we'll produce anywhere from 200 to 240,000 jars of sauce that we'll actually bottle, cap, label, and be ready to ship out the door. Wow. So about over 1 million jars a week that are produced on a 5-day week. Yeah.
So Joe, you said you do certain sizes of jars certain days.
Certain days, correct.
And then you do certain product lines certain days?
No, typically, I mean, a lot of the spaghetti sauce, because we have so many varieties, we will run like in the morning, we may start out with, and I'm just going to give an example, Delgrosso meat. Then it might switch to a pepperoni flavored. And again, thinking about that, that has meat in it. So we're able to not do what we call a washout. But then when we go to a meatless variety or a garden variety or mushroom, or those are when we start. So every batch that we make each day is in a 1,000-gallon batch. Typical day would be about 40 to 45,000 gallons. So in that 40 to 45,000, we make 8 batches of a certain flavor, then switch to run maybe 10 batches of another one, 5 of another, and by the time we get to the end of the day, we may have produced 6 or 7 different varieties of sauces to make up that, that 200,000 jars for the day. As all the finished product, as I mentioned, comes across the top of the warehouse, it is going down to the very end of the building, which you can see is quite a ways down here. All the sauce that's been produced in the last, but we have about a 10-day inventory. That's normally what we would carry. So think about a 100,000 cases a week. We have about 200,000 to 250,000 cases of product on hand at any given time, which is rather a small inventory considering, but we're always constantly making product made to order almost. So when you think about just in time or whatever, again, some of this product we don't even have in this warehouse. We have about half here, and half of the product then gets shipped to the Ward warehouse in Altoona, where again, some of that product is shipped from there. All the salsa we make for Frito gets shipped to the Altoona warehouse. Some of our regular product we turn over daily, we will ship out of this warehouse as well. So pretty much from this point forward, again, a variety of different labels that we see. You can see Delgrosso Alfredo. Here we have a Weiss brand. My eyes are bad. So we do Weiss, we do Giant Eagle. So a lot of varieties of different products.
And Weiss has been a great Pennsylvania partnership for us.
Yeah.
Being a Pennsylvania business.
Yeah, exactly. So now as we turn this way, you start to smell a whole different fragrance, I guess. And you're really smelling a lot of spices. So some of our bulk spices that we bring in come from a company called Newlywed Foods. Their distribution center is actually in Allentown, PA. So most of the product that we would bring in And you can see here, this is what we call a Greek oregano. So you can actually smell it. It has a pretty good aroma. There will be basil in these bags. So this is just the bulk area. Whenever we need product to be used in our finished goods where we start to make the batches, this bulk pallet would be taken upstairs to our second floor level and actually then used according to one bag at a time. Yeah. We scan everything into the system, so we have what we call an ERP system. So this oregano will be tracked from the time it gets in the door to when it gets to the spice room to when it gets used in a kettle, and we know exactly when this product was used on a daily basis. So that's, again, the tracking. If there's a recall, that's the way we can track the products. Some of the other items you see here would be oil, tomato product here. Michael mentioned the tomatoes from Italy. As you can see, they're over here. Now again, think of this, 48 of these boxes come in on a rail car. So at the Ward warehouse, that's where they will unload the majority of this product. We only have usually about a 1 to 2 day supply sitting here. So they're constantly bringing this product to us. This is about a 3,000 pound tote. When we're done emptying this, there's what we call an aseptic bag in this. This is really the holding device for that. Whenever that bag is emptied, the metal sides, the wood sides, the tops all get stacked, banded with the banding they came in with. We re-stack those then on another pallet or another pallet, and then we ship them back to California for future use. Wow. So again, everything, there's a lot of recycling done as well for that. The number 10 cans, which are the Italian plums, and when Michael said about having to open a lot of cans, this is a number 10. This would be equivalent to, 6 pounds versus 3,000 in here. Wow. So we have a special opener that opens this can. It dumps it, takes the lid, puts it in a container. It crushes the can, puts it in a container. So again, all this is recycled as well. Wow. And the difference being on this versus this is concentrated. So think of this as 28%. A tomato, a whole tomato, is 5% solids, the rest is water, 95% water. So on a paste that we bring in, typically we get what we call 28%. So it's literally 5 times as thick as it normally would be if it was in its fresh state. I got it. On this tomato here, we're literally bringing in a fresh tomato that's just been processed. So when you open the can, you get a very bright red, fresh tasting tomato that we still crush, but it gives you a completely different flavor profile than what we would make for the sauces we make with this. So again, just using 2 different ingredients. Wow.
You must have such a good palate that you can discern flavors and...
Yeah, I mean, in terms of sauces, I mean, we again taste them daily, whether it be salsas, whether it be, varieties of cheeses, garlics, whatever. I mean, I think we've been testing pizza crust over at Mariana's because that's one of our businesses. And so the last couple of weeks, we're saying, you know what, I'm getting tired of eating that pizza. Plus, it doesn't help your waistline as well. So.
Did you know that in the corridors in the first floor of the capital of Pennsylvania, there are nearly 400 individual mosaics? The idea for creating these intricate tiles was first suggested by Henry C. Mercer in 1902. A year later, he received the commission to prove 16,000 square feet of pavement tiles for the Great Rotunda and corridors of the new state capitol building in Harrisburg. Mercer set about designing subjects for approximately 400 mosaics. He chose as his general theme the history of Pennsylvania, and he soon realized that his tiles could tell stories. Although the arrangement seems random, the mosaics are very thoughtfully placed in the floor. The tile sequence is roughly chronological, beginning at one end with the scenes depicting the Native Americans. The mosaics progress into the story of European habitation in the New World and encompass the Commonwealth's triumph through process and intervention. Now you know.
Did you know that Violet Oakley was the first female artist to receive a large commission for artwork done in a United States Capitol building? In 1902, Joseph Houston, designer and architect for the 3rd Harrisburg Capitol building, commissioned Violet Oakley to paint murals for the governor's reception room. He believed that Oakley's contribution would add interest to the building and act as an encouragement of women of the state. Prior to beginning her work for the Capitol, Oakley set out to England to conduct research for her murals. Upon return, she decided to center her artwork on William Penn and the founding of Pennsylvania. Oakley made sure that Penn's ideals of justice and peace could be seen throughout her work. In 1906, she completed 13 murals titled The Founding of the State of Liberty Spiritual and was placed in sequential order around the governor's reception room. These murals were some of the first to be installed in the Capitol. When Edwin Austin Abbey, another artist for the Capitol, died in 1911, Oakley was offered another opportunity to create murals for the unfinished Senate and Supreme Court chambers. Her work on the Senate murals, including International Understanding, was completed by 1919. Oakley then completed the Supreme Court murals, including the Divine Law, by 1927. Oakley is said to be the principal artist for the Capitol with a total of 43 murals on display. She remains one of the greatest muralists in the United States. Now you know.
For tomorrow's production. We're done with today's tomatoes that we used. So today what we're doing is bringing back the product we're going to need for tomorrow. And tonight at 10 o'clock, they will start to open all these and start to use these tomatoes in the production process. Once they're blended, if you look to the right, there are tanks back here where the tomatoes get blended in. And then once they're blended, we pump it upstairs to the 2nd floor level. And that's where then they'll be used in the actual cook batches.
Who's setting the recipe schedule for a day?
I do.
You do that?
Yeah,
every day.
I do every day. I sit down on a weekend, usually on Fridays. And again, it's all on computer, makes it really nice. I can look at orders that are due in this week, then I can look at future orders on every single item we make. Because I've been doing it so long, I pretty much know what we're going to sell of every item we make. So out of those 350 SKUs, I only might run 100 of them for the week. Yeah. But at the same time, maybe even 50 or 60. But it turns over every week. We change it constantly. Salsa's a given. We run that every week. Every Friday, typically, we'll run salsa. So if you came here on Friday, almost guaranteed that we'd be running Frito-Lay salsa on a Friday morning. Yeah. This is a customer, Aldi. If you're familiar with Aldi and you're familiar with Save-A-Lot, again, this is a product we will make. You can see what we've done. We had to hand pack 2 jars of the pepperoni with 10 jars of the traditional. So again, because we ran this all as traditional, and we also ran cases of pepperoni, the only thing we had to do is take 2 out of each of the cases of this and transfer them into here to make this mixed, what they call a mixed case. That will go into the store and they'll sell it out of the box. The Aldi and the Save-A-Lot are typically selling out of a box versus the grocery store typically would sell off the shelf. So that means they take it out, put it on the shelf, and throw that away. And that's why they get a little bit more graphic with the box rather than our plain box here, because they're trying to sell you this product right out of the box. Yeah. If anybody wants to cool off, you just walk straight through that curtain. That's 0 degrees in there. That's a freezer. Various meats, produce items, mushrooms, peppers, onions, variety of different things like that will be stored in that area, and we temper them, bring them out, take them up to our process area, and then use them as we need. On a Frito-Lay day, just to give you an example, we use fresh onions. 40,000 pounds of fresh onions are used one day, and 39 to 40,000 pounds of jalapeno peppers. The machine we have above us is what we call a depalletizer. What that's doing, we cut these bands, that takes this wooden thing, takes it off automatically and stacks it in the bin. It takes the cardboard piece in between, automatically stacks it in the bin. One layer at a time is knocked off the pallet, which you can see. It then single files it, which is going here, and goes into the filling room where we're going to fill the jars. That's the finished product coming out right here. That's That's 200 degrees is the actual temperature of the filled sauce. I'll show you the filling real quick. Now, turns the jars upside down, washes the bottles, flips them back up on their side, 575 bottles a minute, then goes to the filler and fills it and caps it, all at the same time. There's your filling process that starts right here. That's the bottle washer that washes the bottles. They come from there, they preheat the bottle. That's the filler, 575 bottles a minute are being filled. Your capping is done at the other end of the filler. See your caps coming down the line? They're being placed on every bottle. That's why we can run over 200,000 jars in a 9-hour shift, 10-hour shift. The speeds are pretty amazing. That's your kettles right back here. That's where all the product is cooked at, in these kettles. The sauce then flows out right through here, over and down into the filler bowl. And we run about 100 gallons of sauce per minute is the average, how much gallons we're using. We have 7 kettles here, 7 1,000-gallon kettles. So each kettle, when we're done with one, we go right to the next batch. And these get filled about 6 times throughout the day to make up the 40,000. Salsa, everything's the same. Yeah. Other than jar size, pretty much everything's the same. Yeah. We're going to go to the packaging end now where we started.
How many employees here?
89 total.
89 total.
Yeah, total. Wow. That includes office, sales, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you're salespeople. You've got so many clients.
Well, but here's what happens. We only have really 3 salespeople.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of brokers across the country.
Okay.
So our salespeople go to our brokers.
Yeah.
They then make the calls into the headquarters of the grocery chain or somebody like we call directly only like Frito-Lay, ConAgra.
Yeah.
But the private label customers, most of that is through a broker, so we pay a broker fee.
I see.
And that way we don't have to have that many people involved.
I see. That makes sense. Would that include Giant Eagle and White?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
My brother calls on Giant Eagle for their branded product.
Yeah.
And then we have a broker called Leaper. They've been in Pittsburgh for years. They work on the private label side for it, as well as the brand.
Yeah.
And then Terry Fubio, who worked for them at one time, she does all the private label sauces, meaning that she calls on all those customers.
Yeah.
But again, we still have a broker involved on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Any other questions as we're walking towards the...
Let me ask you this.
312, okay, so we're good.
One last thing though. As a market, tomato sauce.
Right.
Salsa tomato sauce.
Right.
Do you find does it ebb and flow, or is it just all? Because I mean, our family, we have this kind of stuff all the time.
Well, it's been a flat market. It's a very good market, I'll say that.
Yeah.
Meaning that the sales on spaghetti sauce, they're good in general.
Yeah.
But in terms of being what is selling, the premium products are selling right now.
They are.
So if our La Familia brand is actually doing very well, where maybe our traditional line is kind of just flat. And that's across the board, not just for Delgrosso, but for the Ragus of the world, the Pregos and whatever. So I'd call it a flat market, but people are buying the premium, which is good because we're in that business as well, so that kind of gives us a boost.
And when you say flat, do you think it's just that a lot of people use it already, and there's not much more room to go?
Right. Unless you were able to come up with some ingenious method of being able to use that sauce in pasta or without pasta. What can I use that sauce on other than, I take spaghetti squash and put it in the oven and shred it and put it on. Instead of eating pasta, you could eat it as a vegetarian dish.
Yeah.
But again, there's still only so many ways you can eat it. After the jars had been out of the filling room, which you saw them coming out there briefly, they're 200 degrees. They're going to go through 2 large cooling tunnels. They're 16 foot wide each, 80 foot long. Those 575 jars come down the line, split, and half goes into one cooling tunnel and half go in the other. In a 25-minute cycle, those jars get spray bathed with cold water, while starting out with warm and then cold. By the time they come up to this end of the plant, which is the packaging end, that sauce goes from 200 down to 100 degrees. Vacuum is pulled on the jar, so now we're sealed. Now we go through labeling, X-ray, and then the tray packing where it puts it in the case, shrinks it, and then sends it out to the warehouse. So that's kind of the last things we're going to see. We reached the last few jars that are coming off the line of this product. So there's a delay. There's going to be a Giant Eagle brand mushroom, I believe, coming out after this. So they're clearing the line, getting all this into cases, and then that other flavor profile will be coming out. And then we'll start labeling Giant Eagle brand. Yeah. So we're seeing it at a somewhat of an inopportune time, but he's going to go ahead and run them.
In a way, you kind of see the shift in how you do.
Right, that's how we change over from one product to another. What you're going to see here, the trays are coming from underneath. They're going to come up and meet the jars, 12. They're going to put the tray around, glue it, and it's going to and these don't get shrink wrap because, again, it's a box product for Save-A-Lot, so it does not get a shrink wrap on the case. You ready, Chris? See how it puts it into 12? Now you're going to see it form into 12 jars. That's then going to form a 12 box or 12 jar box. Your trays are coming up underneath and coming around the jars, which is right here. Now that automatically gets slow when it starts, then it ramps up to about 50 cases a minute to keep up with the jar speed that we're running. This will be the shrink tunnel, which would put the shrink wrap and seal it. Again, because we're not running shrink, it just passes through. Last thing, cap feeder. So we dump the caps in here. They automatically sort themselves. Notice they're all one way. They go up, feed into the capper, which you saw inside, puts the cap on, and the jars come up around. If one is upside down, it automatically comes back into the hopper.
That's all the time we have for today's program. I'm Representative Judy Ward. If you have any comments or questions about any state matter, please contact me at my local office or through my website. That information will be shown in a moment. Thanks for watching, and please join me again for Legislative Report.